Welcome back to the Church of Atheism podcast. We are once again, unfortunately, Chrisless. Chris is not going to be here for this week's episode again. Like I said last week, he's just in a moving. He's moving, getting stuff moved around. He's moving to a different town, moving to a different city. So yeah, he's got a lot on his plate. It's been a rough time trying to get a hold of, finding a nice time to schedule a recording. So here I am, alone. Yeah. Poor Trav. So before we get started, I just want to remind everyone you can go to our new sponsor, I Love Growing Marijuana. You can go to churchofatheism.xyz/I Love Growing Marijuana. You can check out the deal they have going on over there. They got a free ebook you can download. You're gonna get all the guides and everything to grow your own pat. Of course, you can only do that where it is legal. You can. I wouldn't advise you to do it where it is illegal to do so. That is my disclaimer. Do not. The Church of Atheism does not hold itself responsible for your stupidity if you grow pot and it's illegal. It's not us. Okay, enough of the rant. Check out our sponsor. You can also help us out if you want to support the podcast by going to patreon.com/Church of Atheism as well. No, Church of Atheism, not as well. Let me try that again. Patreon.com/Church of Atheism. Extra pause. Okay, good. Today's episode, just more news stories, but pretty interesting news stories. And actually, one of them is more of an opinion than a news story. Let's just shut up and get to the show, huh, Trav? So the very first story I wanted to talk about was the tornadoes in Alabama last week, or this week, at some point during one of the weeks. There's a massive storm in Alabama. I think it killed around 28 people. And I thought it was really interesting that let's see. Native American tribe, the Porch Band of Creek Indians tribe, initially said they're going to donate $50,000 to help with families and pay for the funerals and everything. And they ended up donating $184,000 to cover the cost of all the funerals and everything. It's pretty awesome. And as I was reading the story, kind of learning more about it, I realized, depending on how you qualify a megachurch, there's different definitions, so there's no actual answer. But Alabama has between 20 and 40 megachurches, and not one of those churches helped donate anything, from what I'm aware of as of right now anyway. I haven't seen anything to suggest otherwise. So you have a Native American tribe. They have a few casinos in the area. They're like different business owners who donate a whole crap. $184,000 is not chump change for any company. That's a lot of money. They donated just because it's the right thing to do. They said they had the money. They wanted to help out any way they could. And so, boom. Let's see. The goal was to be able to provide what the families wanted. This casket or this service without having to scrimp. This casket or this service without having to scrimp because they didn't have the money. These folks have stepped up for a community in need, and I appreciate that. It's so awesome. It's really cool. Let's give them some shout outs. Let's give them a little love here. The tribe has been in Alabama for generations. Harris said he delivered the news personally about the funerals and burials being covered to the grandparents of Armando Hernandez, the youngest victim. I spoke with AJ's family, his grandma and granddaddy. They were very humbled and very appreciative, he said. I feel so bad for them. I told them, y'all don't worry about that. The cost. I have it covered. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. The tribe descends from the original Creek Nation that once resided in Alabama and Georgia. The tribe was never removed from its lands and has kept a presence in the area for 200 years around the Porch, Alabama reservation. It's really cool. They probably will never hear this, but thanks to the thanks to that tribe. That's really cool. Really cool story. It's a good story to start off the episode with. You know, a little feel good story at the beginning. Who does that? 20 people died. That's a bummer. But the message is there. Wow. So along the lines of weather, my friends and family back home in Nebraska this week had a massive blizzard. And actually, when you look at the satellite images of it, it looked like a hurricane, like a legit hurricane. And it might have ruffled a few feathers with some people, some friends and family back home. But they're calling it a once in 100-year storm. And I go, oh yeah, I've seen a couple of those so far in the last couple of years. It's like, that's what happens with the climate change. And they got all mad at me. So I was like, I'm sorry, but I just can't help appreciate the irony here. If I scroll through my Facebook any other time of year, any given day I can find at least 2 or 3, especially in the winter, 2 or 3 climate change hoax type memes. This is global warming and now it's a record snowfall, so duh. So I just can't, it's irony. And I appreciate it. I appreciate irony anywhere. So when I see them posting all those memes all year round, and then today they're like, oh, the weather, I can't believe how bad the weather is. Well, yeah, if you can't believe it, you're an idiot. It's a little strong. Might be a little true. I can't believe the weather's happening just the way they said it would. Yeah. So, yeah. That's my my mini rant about that. I mean, come on. I talked about this, I think, last week, that I'm not discussing climate change with anybody anymore, and here I am talking about it 2 weeks in a row. But, yeah, come on. Since I've moved to New York 7 years ago, I think I've literally seen 3 quote-unquote once-in-a-100-year storms. Like, you shouldn't be seeing multiple 1-in-a-100-year storms within, 100 years. That's not 100% true, but you get it. You get it. So, yeah. From Alabama to Nebraska, let's go over to Texas now. This is a fun one. I almost opened with this one. I didn't know if I wanted to start the show off on a sad but happy note and segue into climate change. So let's go to this one, though. This is good. I have to prepare myself because it's not easy to say straight face, even though I've read it 50,000 times. Texas judge told a jury that God personally told him that a sex trafficking defendant should be acquitted. This Texas district judge, Jack Robinson, no N, told the jury that his God told him to tell a jury to acquit a sex trafficking defendant. The jury was not persuaded and found Gloria, I'm not going to say her name. Gloria, yeah. This female was found guilty of sex trafficking. Before Robinson testified, Robinson testified before the Texas State Commission on Judicial Conduct last month, and the commission released its warning on February 20th. The court documents show that Robinson furnished letters from medical professionals to the Judicial Conduct Panel, which concluded that Robinson was not currently suffering from a mental illness. Alright. So, you hear God's voice and he tells you, hey, judge. You're a judge, by the way. Why don't you find this person who's obviously guilty innocent? And if you actually say that out loud as a judge about God, you're not considered crazy. But if you, as a judge, walk in to the courtroom and say, don't acquit, don't find this woman guilty because Santa Claus told me she was innocent, or the Tooth Fairy, or the Easter Bunny, or the voices in my head, they'd fucking consider you crazy. But if you're a judge and you say God talked to you, normal. That's normal. Nothing weird about that. Right? God spoke to me and said she's innocent. Sex trafficking, which I thought was what this wall was going to do, was help cut that down. I thought that was a big thing. Republicans were trying to say they had the moral upper hand because, the wall's going to stop and prevent this, and so by being against the wall, you're like, pro-sex trafficking. That's what they're trying to turn it around as. Meanwhile, Judge Jack over here is like, I heard God, man. God said you're innocent. I assume that's what he sounds like. I haven't heard him talk at all. Yeah, how fucking unreal is that? It's absolutely crazy. So, yeah. I think if I ever do something outrightly crazy and get arrested for it, I'm just going to say God told me to do it. It's an easy way out. But it works every time. It's so sad, but it's true. Alright, let's go to the next one. I'm just finding this out right now. I've seen this debate. Richard Dawkins years ago did a debate with Cardinal George Pell. And he pretty much wiped the floor with him, obviously. But there's on, was it BBC? Or some show called Q&A over there. I'm not really sure what it was. I just saw the debate on YouTube. It was like a TV show. Anyway. Yeah. George Pell. Cardinal George Pell. Cardinal George Pell is now, has been arrested and sentenced to 6 years for child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse. It's amazing. It's almost like you can, like, as soon as you see, I think this is a Carlin joke. I hope I'm not stealing a joke. But it's so true. I feel like as soon as you see any right-wing, over-the-top Christian or, over-religious, right-wing, over-religious, yeah. See any of these guys on the news, or, talking how bad, theism is and secularism is, and, how we have no morals and atheists don't have morals because they don't have a God or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Sure enough, it's almost like a countdown. Eventually you will see them being arrested for hiring male prostitutes or raping kids. Yeah, it happens almost every time. One of them speaks out too loud, and sure enough, years later, they're in jail. That's a great little catch. I'm glad I saw that just now. I almost missed it. George. Maybe I'll embed the YouTube video. And finally, speaking of the up and up, holier than thou, I'm better than you. Some news broke about Tucker Carlson this week. About some interview he did where he apparently is kind of beating around the bush, but saying 14-year-old girls are not a bad thing. Media Matters dug up. Hold on. Alright. So, Tucker Carlson allegedly spent about an hour a week calling in to the Bubba the Love Sponge shock jock radio program. And had some pretty interesting things to say at one point. Here's the exchange here. Co-host, in the eyes of the law, people that are under 16 cannot consent to sex for any reason. Bubba the Love Sponge. Yeah, Tucker. Co-host, God. Carlson, I don't, in the state of, it varies by state. I mean, I know we have to just post like the link to the video on the webpage for this, but it's pretty fucking crazy. Yeah, here we go. So they start reading an article about a teacher who molested a 13-year-old to take pressure off the victim's female classmates because they wouldn't have to sleep with them. That was allegedly. Tucker Carlson had this to say. I was just reading a story trying to figure out how to get into our show tonight about the kid, this 13-year-old who was, I guess, molested. They're saying by his teacher who had sex with him 28 times in 1 week. She slept with this kid 20 times in 1 week. Now I ask you, and the Sponge says, in 1 week, Carlson, you have a lot of experience. You've been around, right? Can you do that? The Love Sponge said, I can sleep with, not a kid, but I can sleep with a woman. Can you sleep with a 65-pound woman 28 times in 1 week? Are you physically capable of doing that, or you take your hat off to this kid? Says Carlson. Wow. It continues. Carlson says, look, my theory on this is, 13-year-old boys have one goal, obviously, in life. The Love Sponge says to get laid. Carl says, Tucker says, of course, and then they take that out on 13-year-old girls. 13-year-old boys getting laid, not a bad thing. 13-year-old girls getting laid, bad thing. Particularly if the 13-year-old girl is your daughter, right? So they kind of, one of the attack them almost looks like here. The Love Sponge anyway. So, why are we so double standard in the fact that a 13-year-old boy getting a little booty is just the man to wait, no big deal? Doesn't even really matter who it is. I mean, I guess it really does, but in our messed up mind, the boy, as soon as it's 13 years old, so he just pretty much spilled all the beans here. So yeah, I'm going to have to link this. There's a lot more to it than I thought there was. There's a whole bunch of different little tidbits. Just kind of goes along with what Carlin said so accurately many years ago. Fuck Tucker. Tucker sucks. Well, anyway, I hope that is close to enough time for an entire episode. Yeah, like we said at the beginning of the show, check out our sponsors, churchofatheism.xyz/I love growing marijuana, or amazon.com/churchofatheism. No, amazon.com/shop/churchofatheism, and patreon.com/churchofatheism. So 3 little ways you can help us out there, any way of those. You can also help us by, sharing the episode with one of your buddies you think might like it, or enjoy it, or think it's funny, or, hit that share button, tell your friends, all the good stuff. Thank you guys so much again for listening. We will see you next time.